Okay, Michael, we are rolling. Welcome, man.
Welcome, Mike. Good afternoon.
So, everyone, this is episode 25 of the Ministry of Freedom show. We call it Unscripted Tangents Part 2. So we did one a couple months ago. They had some pretty good viewership and good responses, and where we kind of didn't have a script and we didn't sit down with organized topics. I have no idea what topics Mike is going to bring up. He doesn't have any idea if I even have any topics. So this should be a fun show.
Yep.
We will we'll start with a couple housekeeping things. So everyone should know by now that we are making some changes to the format of the show. I shut down the website. I don't know if I told you that.
No.
I shut down the website and the merch store. We did sell a few things, and I appreciate that people did that. But that's something I wasn't going to put the time and energy and money into maintaining. So we got rid of the website. This has been a long time ago, but we shut off our TikTok and Twitter like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get a little bit more streamlined, but we're going to continue on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Audible. So there's plenty of ways to consume the show. And I'd ask people to support the show. Best way to do that, subscribe on YouTube, sign up for the notifications, follow us on Instagram. So I'm at Real Jim Moats. The show's at Ministry of Freedom Show. You remember yours, Mike?
MC Joker 3.
That seems like it's right. There's also a link in the YouTube page that takes you to Spotify. So there's other links there as well. When you're on the Spotify page, you can partner with us financially. There's ways to contribute to the show monthly. And there's a handful of people that do, and I appreciate it very much. It's as little as 99 cents. I think the maximum you're allowed to give is $9.99 or something like that. So if you feel led, it's certainly appreciated. Later this summer, buy the book. We're shooting for June 16th as a release date for the book. That's what the publisher and editor is still telling me. So we're going to go with that. So most importantly, if you get value from what we're doing, though, share the show. That doesn't just mean, in passing, but it means go and click the button and send it to somebody. I do that with so many podcasts every week while I'll be listening to Priscilla's show or Greg Anderson's show. And I'll just go up there and share episodes and text it to 2 or 3 people. I think it's important. So that's how growth happens. It's organic, and it's about others bringing people into the fold. So, Mike, we always start with a scripture. I didn't even ask you, so I just wanted to use this one. Hopefully it's okay with you. So we're going to use 1 Corinthians 10:10. It says very simply, don't grumble as some of them did, and then they were destroyed by the angel of death. So the gist of that scripture is don't be somebody that sits around and bitches and moans all the time. Quit grumbling. And I find myself at times getting in modes of grumbling, and I think how ridiculous that is. And when we're grumbling, we are missing out on blessings. So we need to have a heart of gratitude. I'm grateful for the life that I have. It's, as I sit back and reflect on where I'm at in life, it's amazing. The 75 hard thing's been pretty fun to start as we get into that. We'll talk about that a little more later, but I'm on day 3. So after today, I have 72 hard. So it's something. It's kind of cool. Anything to add to the scripture? You ever find yourself grumbling?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm one of my better traits is that I don't really harp on stuff a lot. So
yeah,
that's one of the good things that I'm pretty good about is just wringing the sponge out and moving on with my day.
Yeah,
but there's definitely some grumbling here or there.
What's funny is you go back a couple thousand years when the scripture was written, and they put in there, "Don't grumble."
Yeah.
So people back then were bitching and moaning.
We didn't invent it.
They had way more to complain about than us.
Yeah,
we've got pretty good lives, man. So you want to go first? You want to come up with the first topic and just fire away and see where it goes? And by the way, here's the thing, and I want to throw this out there. We have 0 guardrails here. I think when we first started the show, the first 20-something episodes that we did in the other format, we were a little bit trying to be, well, I don't want to say this, or maybe we shouldn't say this. And we would talk about it after the show and keep this. I don't care any longer. We're going to speak our minds. We're not going to worry about this or who cares? We're going to talk about what we want to talk about, and we want to be authentic about what we're doing. So you can say, and you can bring up anything, dude.
All right. Well, my first thing is we're going to go ahead and jump in head first and into politics.
Oh boy.
As you know, I'm not a huge supporter of Biden or Trump, either one. I feel that we have 2 candidates that are flawed, wish that we had better candidates. But what I don't like to see is the prosecution and the persecution of Donald Trump that's been going on. If Donald Trump was running against Vladimir Putin in Russia, our news would carry more about the fact that they were politically persecuting this dude for the sole reason of him not being able to win the election. That's all this persecution and prosecution is about. They hadn't even filed any charges against him until he announced his run for recandidacy. And now, look, 90 some charges. And people were using that as a battle cry. Like people who lean left already are using this as a reason why, well, look at him. The guy's got 91 charges, felonies against him. And he's obviously dirty, because why would they do that? It's a complete and total political hit job. They're after him solely for the reason he's running for president, to beat him down so that they can beat him in the election, because the Biden administration has nothing to stand on right now. They're the open border. So they keep talking about the open border and that they presented this bill to the House to help curtail that. But the border got opened simply by the president changing policies within his own administration, and opened the border up to be in a free house. And now all these people are coming in and they're flying them in on a plane. Me and you can't go somewhere. We can't get on a plane without an ID. We can't go out of the country without a passport. We're flying people in from other countries without an ID or a passport, not even knowing who they really are. And we're on they say that they're paying for their own flight, but that's it. They're coming in. Look, man, I guess I'd like to hear your take, I guess, on the Trump stuff first. I believe this to be a political persecution. What's your feeling on that?
Okay, so I think no matter where you lean, if you have any sense, you see that it's political. It's disgusting. It is blatant election theft, and they have a real fear that they can't win the election. So I think they're doing a few things. Well, we'll talk about the Trump stuff first. So going back to the federal charge about the issue with the overstating his assets. That is absolutely the most absurd thing I've ever heard. And only people that have no idea how business works would even give this any credence. So he's accused of, you get a basis for, okay, this property's worth this asset's worth this. You put it on a personal financial statement. You give that to your lender. They make a decision on whether or not they want to lend you money based upon that personal financial statement, provable income, value of the asset you're borrowing against, so on and so forth. You and I have been through that a number of times. And I've never lied on a personal financial statement, but you get pretty darn close, and that's good enough. So I filled one out about a month ago, and I needed a value for my current home. You know what I did? I went to Zillow, and I said, okay, Zillow says my house is worth this. So I put that down. That can't be a crime. I mean, it's going to be within a cup of coffee. He puts down the value of Mar-a-Lago at some ridiculously low number, and they're telling him it's worth, just a fraction of that. It's
18 million. They're saying it's worth
dollars. So if there was no structure on that piece of property, it'd be worth 50 million, just from where it sits. It's just insane. So the fact that they're accusing him of these things, and think of this. He had to put up $175 million in order to appeal. So they're making him, that's a bond. So he has to post a bond in order to appeal, while there are people that are committing violent crimes in New York City that are getting out with zero bail. There was 8 people arrested for some squatter crimes the other day in New York City. And these squatter crimes weren't just, hey, we've been in this apartment for a year illegally. There's illegal guns there and all kinds of drugs, fentanyl and meth and on and on. And 6 of these people were released and with no money. So they were arrested, released.
You guys that attacked the cop in New York City in the subway?
So that's not them, but that happened to them too. That's not what I'm referring to.
But I'm just saying, did you see that though? I mean, they attacked a police officer and got released without bail.
Yeah.
No bond put up.
Trump, even assuming that there was a crime, which I don't believe there was in this instance, there's no victim here. So the banks, the lending institution never went to the feds and said, oh my goodness, we got big problems here. This guy didn't pay us back, and we found this and we found this. And he paid them back. And then they went back to Trump, which happens when you're a good banking client, and they say, hey, we want to do more business with you. Not only were they not a victim, they were soliciting Donald Trump after the fact, after these initial loans were paid, for more business. So there's no victim here. there's no harm done to anybody, yet we're going to spend tens of millions of dollars going after a guy just for political purpose. So when you start weaponizing the Department of Justice and the courts, that's a slippery slope that I don't know how you come back from, because one of the things that's going to happen is every time the pendulum shifts, the prior party or the party not currently in power is now going to be a target of the Department of Justice. Right. And that goes against everything that our country was founded upon. So that's my feeling on Trump. Of course, it's politicized. The fact that he doesn't need another dollar in his life, yet continues to fight and go through all of this stuff. The perseverance this guy exhibits is inspiring. We've talked about Trump plenty on the show. I'm not a huge fan of some of the things he's done and said, but we've all done and said some stuff that's a little bit off color. He's a great business person. I believe he's a man of general integrity. I think he loves our country. And I think he proved himself to be a competent leader for the years that he was in office. And that's the job description. So he's going to get my vote. I hope that he continues to persevere, and we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks when the Stormy Daniels case begins to be tried, because they denied his extension yesterday. So I believe April 15th, Monday, is the day that they start trying that case. I want to jump into so you talk about the border. That also ties into what they're doing to Trump. So they're trying to hedge their bet. Bet one is that they can get either Trump eliminated from ballots, which they I think they've admitted they failed at, or have him to a place where he's been found guilty of felonies, and that will either remove him from eligibility or dissuade people from voting for him. They've hedged their bet with, let's flood the country with illegals who are going to find a way to vote. Yep. Their intention is to give these people the vote, and they do it by paying them off. Here's some research that I did this morning before the show, because I figured, we're going to get to either Mike's going to bring it up or I'm going to bring up the border,
yep.
The illegal immigrants, because I call them illegal immigrants because that's, I think, what they are.
They entered the country illegally.
Yes. Correct. Yes, that's a crime. So in New York City, these illegal immigrants, when they arrive, they're promised, I should have known the exact time frame, but they are promised housing. And it's not indefinitely, but it's a decent amount of time. Some of them are in hotel rooms. You've seen that on the news. That's a real thing. So they are promised a roof over their head. There's also a debit card beta program that has been started where they are getting $1,000 debit card monthly. They also qualify for an additional $1,400 in, I don't know the exact acronym New York State uses, but let's call it food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
So there's $2,400 per month, tax-free, that they get.
Plus a roof over their head.
Plus a roof over their head. And
which would cost everybody else money, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
if you're an American national citizen.
Some of these hotel rooms are $300 a night. So I don't know where you can live in New York City for under a couple thousand a month.
Right.
So
just to get in there for 1 second, this morning, as I told you yesterday, so I have a business, and my business, we've recently received a contract to clean up homeless encampments for the city of Omaha.
Yeah, how's that?
So we did our first one today. It was our first job. But it's just amazing to me when I'm there. I feel bad for these people. It's cold, last night.
Yeah.
And so we're going there, we're cleaning up, and it's garbage, right? We're just picking up sleeping bags and burn up mattresses and things they've lit on fire to stay warm.
Yeah.
And as an American citizen, and a lot of them have drug problems, mental health issues, whatever, but they're an American citizen. And they're not getting these basic guarantees to shelter and food that the people who are not American citizens are getting. And it's disturbing. Like I say, when you're out there, look, it's easy to sit here and think, well, they should get a job, whatever. I mean, obviously, I've been that guy for a long time. But I mean, I grabbed that get a job line 20 years ago and ran with it for a long time. Sure. But once you're out there and here these people are, it's cold. Even today in April, it's cold.
Yeah.
Why would our citizens, our veterans, our people who are suffering from mental illness be living on the street? And we're bringing people in. We're currently paying to bring other people into the country to take care of them, but not our own.
I don't see it as any other way other than a nefarious dismantling of our nation. I don't know how you can see it any other way. And I don't think that's even being overly dramatic. I, I think it's a way to steal elections indefinitely. It's also, so there's two states that the Democrats have wanted to steal for decades. They want to steal Florida and Texas.
Yeah.
So if Texas falls, and that is dramatic, but if Texas goes Democrat, there's problems for the nation. And it's going to be very difficult based upon population to, from an electoral perspective, win elections moving forward for anybody that's not a crazy progressive. And that's their goal here. So if they can flood these people into Texas and get them to vote, then they're playing a real strategic game here. It's actually pretty impressive when you start looking
long term. It's been a long-term game.
It is. It's a long-term generational game. They started it a generation or two ago. I remember seeing when you couldn't say the Pledge of Allegiance at school and public schools in California, 20 something years ago. And I thought, boy, that's kind of pushing the envelope. And they really started the indoctrination of that generation back then. And they're taught from an early age to hate themselves, to hate everything America stands for. And after you demoralize our own citizenry, now it's time to flood our country with people that have no loyalty to us at all. And a lot of those have to be bad actors. There's just no doubt in my mind that there are terrorists flooding over the border. And I would think that at some point in the not too distant future, and the FBI is even acknowledging this, that we need to be on some alert here. Yeah. And there could be some bad stuff happening. So that's my thought on that. Am I lining up pretty close with what you're thinking?
Absolutely. You see, they how many come across and don't need to get counted or even spoken to is hard to know. But they actually caught a guy that came across and he had gang tattoos. Yeah. So they decided to look into him a little bit. And on his cell phone, he had videos of him torturing and murdering people in Mexico.
Yeah. There's 700 on average getaways a day coming across in Texas. That seems like a lot. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to get any better other than there could be an executive order to shut that deal down immediately. And it doesn't mean, all you hear from the Democrats is, well, the Speaker of the House, he's holding things up and all they do is pass this and that. It's nonsense. So
they opened the border the day that Biden took office. They opened the border through executive orders and through changes in his own administration, the things that he sent out to do to Homeland Security, what we want you to do, the Border Patrol. He changed their rules and regulations of how they're to do business and open the border. Now, all of a sudden, he's saying it's the Republicans that won't let him close it. It's crazy.
I agree. It's insane, dude. I got nothing else on that. All right, my turn. You ready? Okay.
All right.
I want to run this. Oh, go.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So here's my topic. Here is my unscripted tangent. So there's a lady named, I'm going to butcher her last name, but I'm going to spell it for the audience to do their own research. First name's Heidi. Her last name, Przybyla, PrzybYla. So I'm pretty close. She's a national investigative correspondent for Politico. She was on MSNBC, and I was alarmed by this, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, even though I think I'm going to know your thoughts, but maybe not. She contends that there's this crazed group of MAGA right-wing weirdos in our country that believe your rights come from God and not from elected officials in government. And that if you hold that belief, you are a white Christian nationalist and you pose a dire threat to our nation. So before I get your opinion on that, I wanted you to know I did some research and I found a document that may shed some light on debunking her theory. I'd like to read a portion of it to you if I could.
I'm hoping it's for the Declaration of Independence.
Well, I'll leave it to you. I don't have it credited here. I just have the words. So maybe they're familiar. I'm not sure. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal. Hold on. Here's the meat. They are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, here's the part that a lot of people might not be as familiar with. that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That means, hey, we're going to set up a government. We're going to choose who gets to be in that government, and you get all of your power from those of us of whom you're going to govern. So you work for us. Then, or that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
We're almost there, aren't we, dude?
Yeah. What's crazy is that you and I didn't talk about this before. Like when I threw out that, I hope you're reading something from the Declaration of Independence. That wasn't set up. I didn't know.
No.
But I read this lady's statements the other day, and I immediately thought, well, does she not know that the Declaration of Independence actually calls this out?
Yeah.
And
Such
it calls out a creator.
Yeah. It's absolutely insanity to me. I want to just
go ahead. Both read this and think immediately like, yeah, actually, this is in the Constitution.
I was doing some self-reflection when I was reading this stuff, and I was listening to her rant, and I thought to myself, I immediately get bumped by this white Christian nationalist thing, and I thought, hold on, I think I'm that.
Yeah.
So I went, yeah, I'm white. I am a Christian. And what's nationalist mean? America first?
You like patriotic is another word that
I have a heart for America. I think America's interest as a citizen of the United States, America's interest should be put first. I think there's nothing wrong with being America first. I think that a lot of countries in the world I think it's Canada first. I don't think Canada is looking out for our interests first. I think Canadians are like, no, we need to be pro-Canadian. And that's how governments should be established. But people forget that their power comes from us. And the part where it says that we have a right to alter or abolish their system and institute a new government, that doesn't seem as far off as it may be, as a lot of people think it may be. There's an interesting movie coming out at the end of next week called Civil War. You seen the previews for this?
No.
Okay. So you and I need to go see this movie because it's exactly about this is what it's about. So check it out when we're done hanging out here. It's just simply called Civil War. So it comes out next Friday. So if you're around, maybe we can go see that.
The people that are entering our country illegal right now will actually be able to vote before I am as a felon.
Correct.
A federal felon.
Yeah.
I've lost my voting rights and my right to carry a firearm. There will actually be people who have entered the country illegally that will have a firearm permit and the right to vote before me. I'm certain of that.
I was listening to Tulsi Gabbard this morning on Jack Carr's podcast. Jack Carr is a cool dude. His podcast is called Danger Close. He writes the Terminal List series, a series of books, and it's an Amazon show now. It's a good dude. So Tulsi Gabbard, I'm a huge fan of. I'm hoping she's going to be our vice president. Yeah. But we'll see. That'd be great. It'd be pretty cool. So she's talking about, she was hanging out in some public schools doing some events and things, and that as talking to these middle school age kids, they understand that September 11th has some semblance of meaning, but not really understand what happened or what it was. It's just something that's kind of not spoken of, which she was alarmed by, but not near as alarmed as the fact that she's from Hawaii. So she spends a lot of her time in Hawaii. And there's a lot of 20-somethings and older people in Hawaii that can't really articulate the importance of Pearl Harbor and what that meant and what it meant for the geopolitical landscape back then and how it can still impact those relationships today. They have no idea. What are kids being taught is beyond me. I think we've got more kids that are interested in pissing in litter boxes in the public school bathroom than there are want to understand the history of our nation. And that sounds like I'm being just facetious. I'm not. I talked to you about this. There's a county in Washington State, that actually had to have a vote because it was put before the school board by the students that they would like to have litter boxes in the restrooms because those of them that identify as cats need a place to go to the bathroom that's more comfortable. I'm not making this up. It sounds like this is a dude just getting online and ranting. Go look it up. Snohomish County. I couldn't spell it for you. That's the name of the county. And one of the cities out there is called Lake Stevens, Washington. You can look this up, and they voted no. So there aren't going to be litter boxes. But we're at a place in our country now where we have to celebrate, wow, we really dodged that litter box bullet.
Right.
Are you freaking kidding me?
I read a thing on Facebook this morning, a girl, beautiful adult lady, and she said that when she was a child, she was always considered a tomboy, and that she grew up with 3 brothers, and that they would pick on her for being a girl, and that she dispelled all girlish things. And she said that even as a child, she would always tell her brothers, as soon as I'm legally old enough, I'm going to cut my boobs off. I'm not a girl. I don't want to be a girl. Well, now she's this beautiful woman. And at the end of the story, the moral is she said, thank goodness my parents were not insane and supported her. Supported her transition at the age of 12.
So I live with an 8-year-old girl who'd like to eat ice cream for dinner every night.
Right.
So
as a guardian or somebody in her life, you feel
as
like
an adult in her life, I sneak her some when mom's not looking. But no, we're not having ice cream for dinner.
right.
And you need to take your medicine when you're sick. And why can children that age, without the consent of parents, have other adults manipulating this? And the dangerous thing is, I'm a proponent of talking to people and seeking therapy and things like that. I don't think there's any weakness in any of that. But for a child, I'm reluctant to suggest that at this point, because I think it's indoctrination. It's further indoctrination. I think therapists are like, oh yeah, you know what, you're probably a boy then. Let's get you some hormones. Let's get you a script written. Let's get you on some testosterone. Then we'll chop those boobs off before they come in. Let's get some puberty blockers. And we don't need that. Heck yeah.
And the thing is you and I think this is hilarious. Like, that's so crazy, that would never happen, but it's happening.
It's happening. Fiction has become reality, and it's happening before our eyes. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. The boiling frog in the water thing. You familiar with that story? And they just, they keep turning up the heat, and they keep turning up the heat. And if you throw a frog in boiling water, he's going to hop right out. Right. But if you put the frog in lukewarm water and it's really slow, he's going to stay in there and boil. And that's where we're at. It's just they keep messing it up. They keep ramping it up. They keep doing this stuff to us. At some point, there has to be some pushback. Now, we'd like it to be, that's what votes are for. That's what democracy's for. Let's exercise our free speech. Let's get on a podcast. Let's talk to our peers. Let's write a blog. Let's do something. Let's make some posts that are trying to educate people. That's all well and good, and we have to vote and be engaged. What happens if we get to a place where we're pretty sure that that's not going to work? Now, I'm not one of these election denier people that think that 2020, the election was stolen and there's no way he won. And Biden's our president. I think it was a little nefarious, but I also think that they changed so many rules because of COVID to put it in their favor. They probably won it in an up and up way by playing with the rules they created.
And so they're really voting. I mean, the fact that they have these people going around and they're going to poor neighborhoods and they're helping people fill out the ballots. There's been numerous times when they're going into old folks' homes and they help the people fill out the ballots. Well, that's not somebody voting. If you go to somebody I honestly think that voting should be a privilege and an honor that as our country, we should be glad that we get to. And I think that we should have to go to some effort to vote. Now, if that means going to the post office and picking up a ballot or going to the courthouse on election day, I think our country should close on election day. I think all businesses should be closed. Agreed. I think that everybody should have an opportunity to vote, but I believe you should have to have some sort of ID like you do to get on a plane. Is it discriminatory to ask people of other ethnicities besides whites to have a driver's license to get on a plane?
So let's just say what you're... Okay, I'm just going to say what you're hinting around about. Okay, they tell us Black people can't get IDs.
Right,
that's what they're telling us, dude.
That's exactly what they're telling us.
They're saying, hey, it's racist if you need to have an ID to vote. I fly a lot. You know who's on my flights? A lot of people that don't look like me.
Right.
They had a freaking ID.
Yes.
It's so racist to insinuate Black people can't get an ID or can't use the internet.
Right.
And I think, who's getting pissed off about it? Black people.
Right.
Right? I imagine they're probably like, what? I have an ID.
Yeah.
So it's nonsensical. But I do think that their efforts to steal this election, it's going to be way more difficult. And we've already outlined the methods that they're trying to use. So my hope is that we can turn this thing around with.
I want to read you something that it's gotten so crazy with the pronouns that
Oh, no.
yeah that and everybody obviously trying to be woke and so like I mentioned, we bid work for the city. So the city of Omaha puts this in every bid now. The city of Omaha is requesting bids from qualified companies. Herein could it be referred to as the bidder, the contractor, the vendor, supplier, or any other pronoun used in their place for all works and goods. So not only is it enough for the he, she, they, now they're afraid that they're going to offend your business by calling you a subcontractor or any other pronoun that your business wants to be called.
So if you identify as a contractor and they insult you by throwing sub in front of it, you should be
or a vendor. They calling you a vendor, or any other pronoun you want to be called.
So
Mike the provider. I would like to be Mike the provider from now on. I'll be the provider.
Everything you jack with and sign up for now that they ask you your gender, your pronouns, and so I mean, what are we talking about?
The provider.
Can't we get AI sharp enough to know if I type in the word Jim, it's going to be an M by it?
Right.
How many chicks are named Jim?
Right.
But it is what it is. The other thing that I'll bring up, I got one for you. Switzerland. Man, did I mess this up? Is it Switzerland? One of these countries is now making it illegal and considering it a jailable offense to mispronoun somebody.
Right. I saw that.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to be called a her and you call them a him or vice versa, you can be arrested.
So if a 6'5", 260-pound person walks up to me with a deep voice and I can look at that person and know it's a male and I say, hey, dude, I can be put in jail for that.
Or sir, or mister.
Yeah.
Excuse me, mister. Can you imagine you're like accidentally bump into him? Sorry, sir. I'm not a sir. I am a male. I'm a female.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm glad that there are patriots and people that will stand up for their principles. So you're familiar with J.K. Rowling?
Yeah.
So the author.
Yeah.
She has a home in that area, in that country. Is it Switzerland? Am I saying it? Did I get it right?
I don't think it was Switzerland, but I know. Yeah.
So she resides.
Maybe I think Finland.
I don't think it's Finland.
No.
She resides there. And so she's like, when I go back over there, I'm going to stand up for anybody that gets arrested for this. And if one person gets arrested for this, they're going to have to arrest me too. And I'm going to stand up. Now she's a billionaire, but good on her.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the show Billions?
Dude, it was one of my favorites. Love it.
So that was actually what I was sitting there thinking about. That one of the first episodes, he said, what is the point of having fuck you money if sometimes you don't say fuck you? So pardon the French. You may have to beat that.
I don't know how to do that. So,
but that's what I thought of when you just said that about her. I'm like, well, she's got fuck you money. So
that's right. And she's using it the right way.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I love that. So good on her. We need more of that going on. Okay, so there's mine. I'm ready for your next one. You got one on the top of your mind?
No, man. Actually, the border was actually kind of with both. I was on both of our minds this week because that was actually the one of the next things that was been upsetting me and been kind of getting up under my skin along with my politics. I guess if nothing else, after the homeless story and me telling you that I do have pity for them and the main reason I have pity for them is because of the fact that a lot of them are mentally ill. So it's easy for me to have pity for them. So for those of you who are not mentally ill and who are able-bodied and able to work and are getting Social Security and faking a Social Security claim, dude, there are a lot of people that are getting out of the military and getting 100% disabilities for whether it's hearing loss or claiming that that they're having flashbacks and this kind of stuff. There's people out there that are in better shape than you. We won't say than you and me, but that work out all day, every day, that are getting a a full-time payment from our government for disabilities. And it's not even that. It's not only the military. It's people that are faking Social Security claims, back injuries. So I'm pretty pissed off about that too. As long as we're being mad about things.
Yeah.
I am sick of people living off the government. And I'm sick of people that, even if you're not living off the government, if you're living off of your parents, if you're 30 years old and you're living at your mom and dad's house and you're getting money from your mom to go pick up a pack of smokes and a 6-pack, and your mom's stupid enough to give it to you, it's pretty disgusting. People who are not mentally ill need to get a damn job, and you need to support yourself, and you need to not rely and think. That's a lot of the problem that we have with our system is people think that they're owed something. They're owed a home, they're owed a car, they're owed a lifestyle, whether they work or not. There's people that have children and say, well, I don't want to work, I want to raise my kids. Well, that's great. Did you have a plan when you had your child to be able to accomplish this? I don't care. If you got a man that's in your life that's willing to pay, or a woman that's in your life, great.
So let me speak to that.
Work. Get to work.
I'll speak to that. So one of the things that I'm about, and I talk to people about this often, is I encourage people to build the life that they want to live. You need to be the contractor of your life. You need to build it.
Or vendor or supplier or pronoun of your choice.
Yes. So I thought you'd pick up on that. Now, what I mean by that is, if you've got a job that you hate and you're stressed out all the time and it's just the bane of your existence, and if you sit and grumble about that, takes us back to our scripture from 1 Corinthians. If you're sitting around and grumbling about that, there's nobody to blame but you. You have the freedom currently in this country to build the life that you want. Now, does that mean that you don't have to work? No. You need to have some means of generating income, whatever that looks like, right? I mean, I'm generating income.
Be able and willing to live off the land.
Correct. Which is also, if that's your choice, right, you can build that life.
Yes.
Now, I was talking to a dude the other day, and he and I have been talking about life building a lot. And he's in a job that he doesn't necessarily, hate and complain about all the time. He's a pretty upbeat guy, but he's recognizing that with some alterations, he could build a different life. And here's an example. He's got a side business, and he doesn't have a lot of time to focus on his side business, but he enjoys it. He's kind of passionate about it. And he's thinking, I should sit down with the people at my bosses at work and say, what if I went to a 4-day schedule here? And then I could have a day or two of the week that I could go build on my side business. And I could also still, because he's getting back into his fitness and focusing on his health, I also need to make sure I can get my 4 workouts in so I could have this kind of. Now we're looking at a person that's thinking of every aspect of their life, from health and wellness to earning a living to building a side business for the future. And how can they build that? He's thinking, how can I proactively change my life to fit all this in? Most people don't think they have that. Well, I can't go do this. I can't do that. They're not going to let me do this. It's 100% no if you don't ask. We need to build our own lives. We have that right to build our life. I was sitting with a guy yesterday. I had an amazing day yesterday. So I end up meeting a dude that I don't see that often, that I met through men's group. I've known him for 15 years. We meet at one of the local coffee shops, a Stories coffee shop, which I love. Shout out Stories. Good stuff here in Omaha. So this guy and I are sitting down talking for an hour. He ends up praying over me right in the middle of this coffee shop, which I just love that boldness. We're sitting there. He's praying like we're in church. I think that's amazing. And he says to me, so, hey, man, what's next for you? And I thought to myself, I don't know. And I also said, now don't take this the wrong way, but I don't really need to know. What's next for me is I'm focusing on me being better every day. And I've been fortunate enough to set myself up to have a little bit of a financial cushion and a little bit of an income that's generated from that. And I don't have to run right out and do the next thing. But I'm also not going to sit around with my feet up and do nothing. What I am going to do is get better every day, work on my mental toughness, my discipline, my physicality, and that's going to increase the quality of the opportunities that are going to present themselves to me moving forward. Does that make sense? As I look to build my life, I need to build me first. And I would challenge you that the gentleman I was referring to was talking about changing his life and adjusting some things with his work and his side business. This all started when that guy made the shift to focus on his physicality. He started to understand, if I build myself up from a physical perspective, I'm going to open up so many other doors in my life. I'm going to have the confidence to work to create the life that I really want. I'm going to be a better husband. I'm going to be a better father. We need to focus on our physicality. And the discipline that takes is super important. I wanted to touch on this with you before we got done. So the deal with 75 hard is, a lot of it's not that challenging for me, as weird as that sounds. I don't mind working out in the morning. I can take a progress picture. It's weird for me to stand in front of a mirror in my underwear. I'm being honest with you. I'm taking these progress pictures, selfies every morning. I'm like, man, this is weird. But you got to do that every day. And you got to read 10 pages out of a book a day. Okay. You can't have any alcohol. That part of it's pretty freaking easy, isn't it? I mean, I've got that in my sleep. Other than the picture, that's kind of my life anyway. But the afternoon workout is a challenge, and the nutrition, no sweets, no bread, no dairy, it's very disciplined. What I thought yesterday, this really hit me. So the last 2 days, I had to do workouts outside, as I have to every day, and I do them in the afternoon. And it was windy the first day. Yesterday was stupid windy, and it sucked. And if not for the accountability that I am on 75 hard, there is no way I'm walking out the door yesterday and going and doing that walk. So I put my ruck on, and I'm starting my walk going north. I'm right into a 35 to 40 mile an hour wind. It's like I can almost not even move.
Yeah.
Now, when I go around corners and the wind's hitting me sideways, it almost knocked me off my feet. That's how freaking windy it was. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, now this sucks. But that's the idea of it. The goal, and I've said this before, and I want to make sure that the audience gets this because it's super important. When the goal is non-negotiable, the decisions are already made. I'm most effective and empowered in my life when I don't have to make decisions. Well, that sounds weird. And life's about making decisions. It's really not. Here's what I mean. 75 hard's the goal. I'm not negotiating that, am I? I'm going to get that done. So that means I have to go out in that wind. I don't even think about it. You just go do it. So when you have
grumbling, possibly.
Say again?
Possibly some grumbling.
Yes, there was grumbling. Now, you know what? While I was out there, I was kind of like, yeah, but I did kind of laugh about it. I didn't grumble as much as you might think. I actually am finding myself at a place of gratitude for it, because I'm praying throughout this process, and I'm thanking God that I have a life that I've built that allows me to go do that. And I am physically able to be outside and fighting against that wind, and how amazing that is, and that my body can do those things. And I'm finding such gratitude in this process. And the hard stuff is only hard if you're grumbling.
Yeah.
But I don't negotiate with myself. If I committed to this, the decisions are already made. So I don't like you and I, we just went through this conversation a little while ago, earlier today. Hey, Jim, this kind of came up, and did you want to come out and hang out and do such and such? And well, I don't think you're allowed to shoot guns, so I wasn't.
Right, I wouldn't be that.
Right,
definitely not.
Right. You were gonna. We were gonna watch a video about shooting guns.
I got a slingshot.
There you go.
I had to have.
And I really want to come do that. And I said, you know what? I got to get this afternoon workout in. That's my priority. I'm not going to negotiate that away. And I also want to be home and have dinner with Allie and her daughter. And so it's just not going to fit, because you can't negotiate those things.
Right.
And I just think if we can get to a place in our day-to-day lives when there are non-negotiables, the decisions are already made. That's the thing that I want to encourage people in, and it's helped me tremendously. You also, for 75 days, are doing some stuff.
I've signed up for a 75 medium to soft. I'm down 5 pounds in the first 3 days, so I'm kind of pumped about that. Yeah, dude. Man. Well, awesome. When you're my size, a little bit of bloat falls off kind of easy.
It's not easy,
but no, there've been salads, and I but you're right. So I've made the commitment that I'm going to work out at least once a day, every day, for a 30-minute minimum, and twice a day, 4 days a week.
Dang.
And cleaned up my diet. So yeah, man, I'm actually no sweets, no sugars.
Yeah. And you're doing this
Just taking
75 days.
my feet, taking the crap out. Just cut the crap,
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Everybody knows what to do. And if you don't, ask somebody. And we've talked about this before. If you just eat stuff that won't rot, if you just absolutely eat fruits, vegetables, and meat, things that do rot, that if you just set them on your kitchen counter and in a few days they would be rotten, or if not a few hours. If you eat only those things, you'll get healthy.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it.
David Chapman said it perfect. He's like, eat single ingredient foods.
Yeah.
It's pretty good work. You know, eat.
So I don't know. That. And I'm look, it's so crazy. Like I go through these phases of my life where I focus on health and fitness. And 3 days in, like last night, the same thing. Yeah, I hadn't gotten my workout yet. My daughter called and said, "Hey, you want to get something to eat?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I'd have a salad, whatever." I said, "I'm willing to go somewhere as long as they got."
Yeah.
And she's like, "All right, cool." And then I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't done my workout yet." And it was 6:00, so it would have been very easy. But I'm just like, "Look, I'm gonna go get on this Peloton. I gotta get in 30 minutes, real quick.
Gotta go do it.
Yeah, meet me afterwards."
Yeah.
But what's crazy is I already feel better. It's like
that fast.
3 days of it. I don't feel bad.
72 hours into the process, and you feel physically better. I will tell you, this is the best I've felt, and I'm seeing it aesthetically as well, which makes me feel amazing. One thing happened to me earlier today when we were getting ready to do this. So since I'm only kind of seen up here right now, I mean, I'm not dressed up by any stretch, but I wanted to put a nice button shirt on. So I went back to my kind of professional clothes that are still in their dry cleaning bag and stuff. And I pulled out a really nice shirt. I went to put this shirt on. And a year ago, this is stuff I would wear every single day. I couldn't get this shirt on. This shirt,
your chest and arms have grown so much.
I couldn't get it on.
Dude, so your chest and arms have noticeably grown.
Because my chest, the shirt came to like here. And I'm like, so all these clothes are worthless. And I weigh not that much, maybe, that's not true. I put on 10 pounds since then, but kind of in the right places. And I'm like, this is kind of what I've been trying to get done. And this is where the non-negotiable goals come in. And through all the nonsense, through this last season of life, have been focused on this and not relenting.
And you brought up the story the other day about how 5 or 10 years ago, you're running all the time. And I seen you one day, I obviously wasn't seeing you a whole lot then. I was in New Orleans. And I guess it's probably been a few years ago. And I made the comment to you of, look, man, you should really start lifting. You're skinny.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
And you said it offended you at the time.
The replay's in my head still.
Yeah. But dude, you look now. This is when I saw you, then I'm like, look at all the time this guy's devoting, because you were devoting the time to finish. You're getting up every morning. You had your full-time job. You were working 60 hours a week, and you're up on either running outside or on a treadmill every day at what, 5:30 or something?
Yeah. So I was running from 5:30 till 7
every day.
And then on Sunday, I was going out for 2 and 3 hour runs.
And I'm just like, hey man, why don't you cut that running back to like 30 minutes and then devote the other hour to lifting weights or whatever? And you obviously were proud of what you were doing at the time. And I'm just kind of like thinking your physique, you were looking a little frail, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. So that really resonated with
me. You're
a
manly man now, bro.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So it resonated with me because you told me I was skinny fat, and I hated hearing that. But
you're just fat, Colin. So how about that?
Yeah. Spoiler
alert.
Running sucks. As I look back on running now, and I still, once in a while, just to make sure I can still do it, I'll like go out to the trail or jump up on the treadmill and, and crank out, I don't know, not a fast mile, but I can still jump up and do, 7-minute mile, 7.5-minute mile, whatever. And I never run anymore. And that makes me feel pretty good. But running taught me a lot from a discipline perspective, and that you can push your mind is the battle here. Your body can do a lot more than your mind thinks it can do. And taking that mindset into the strength training has helped drastically, because you know how many people think that I've got 1 rep left in reserve here. No, you don't. Yeah. You could do 7 more. So my understanding of pushing to failure is different. And I think it's because of the running. I understand that I'm capable of doing more stuff. But yeah, we got to focus on this physicality, man. We talk about it and we talk about it and we talk about it, but it's changing people's lives.
Yeah.
We have to just, there's room for everybody to improve on that. I'm never going to stop talking about it. I think it's the key to everything. And I'm happy for you, dude. I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah. Well, I have to. Like I say, it's so weird. Like I'm 55. When I was 50, I was in the best shape of my life, probably. You mentioned the mile. Yeah. So I was working out with this guy every morning, and he was sick of doing what I was doing. Like I always wanted to do CrossFit type of exercises, a lot of burpees, a lot of burpee pull-ups, stuff like that. A lot of weightlifting and compound movements and cleans and jerks. And so he's like, yeah, why don't we ever go run? I'm like, man, I got bad knees. I hate running. And he's like, well, and this, by the way, this is when I was in prison. So celebrating my 50th birthday, but I had the time. I was in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't run. And he's like, well, what? I'm like, I'm bone on bone in my left knee. I just don't run. I can't straighten my leg. And he's like, oh, well, you just kept at it. So finally I'm like, all right, dude, let's go run. I'm like, what do you want to run? He's like, I want to run a mile. So like we had the goal set, and it was the track that was there was 5 laps to the mile. So I just followed him the first 3 laps. The 4th lap, I went ahead and passed him and kind of put it out there. And then the 5th lap, I dead sprinted the 5th lap, and I went 7:15. And I was 50 years old in my life. That's the fastest mile I've ever ran. That's even in high school. I never ran like that, No,
me neither.
So it's crazy. The point is, I guess, so I was doing all this other stuff and working out every day, literally working out 2 hours to 3 hours a day, every single day. Yeah. And then you can go run. I mean, I hadn't practiced it, but I was doing so much other things.
Your body's built to do it, dude.
Yeah.
Your body's built to do it. And if you'll work on your posterior chain, you'll work on your muscles, your bone density, building muscle, all those things that come through strength training. When you go apply that through running, your body's naturally made to run. And as you're stronger, you can go do it effectively.
And lighter. So, I was 205 pounds instead of 255 pounds. So made it a little easier.
Yeah, no, it's way easier, man. So I'll give you one quick running fact. So for every pound you take off your frame when you go running, with every footfall, it lessens 4 pounds of pressure on your knee.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So if you lose 10 pounds, that's 40 less pounds of force coming down on your knee joint when you do a footfall. So that's why weight's important. That's why you don't see a bunch of 200-pound long distance runners.
Yeah,
they're skinny fat or just skinny. Really just skinny.
Sorry, I hurt your feelings, but I'm glad it worked out in the long run.
Yeah, no, it did. It's working.
I'll give you a 3 or 4 year old apology, but dude, you're looking great now.
So before we finish up, we're just about going on an hour here in a few minutes. Some things that are in Mike and I's future regarding the show is we are going to build out a studio, aren't we?
We are.
And the plan is we're working on picking some things out and working with contractors, and we've started those discussions, and we're going to press forward and make an investment in this thing and figure out what we want it to be. I love doing this show, and I get a lot of positive feedback from what we're doing, and I think that there's people that are encouraged by something they hear once in a while, and I think that's important. I don't know what the overall impact is going to be, but I know if I've seen it tangibly in the people that I'm around. When I have people coming up to me saying, you inspired me the other day, and I made this change, and I haven't drank soda, or I did little things like that, mean the world to me. And go ahead.
We had our conversation last week, and I told you, I believe that for whatever reason, this is a path you've been set on. And I do believe someday you may know what you did. Maybe you never will, but I believe that you were in the process of changing or saving somebody's life, doing what you're doing with your book, with your podcast, the things that you set out to do here. This is something that has been brought to you from the universe, from divine intervention, whatever. You must continue.
That's the idea. I'm passionate about, I want to use what I've been blessed with to help other people. And I don't know how to do that other than try and introduce them to Christ, trying to help them focus on their physicality, because I think that's the basis on which we build everything. I don't know how many 400-pound CEOs there are, but I'm guessing there's not as many as there used to be. I think fitness needs to be at the forefront of everything that we're doing. And that's going to be what we talk about.
And that's what I like to tell people too. And obviously, like I say, I've fallen off the wagon, but I always like to tell people, you know, how they have the birthdays in the morning on the news for like the 90-year-olds and the 100-year-olds. And I always tell people, hey, did you see that one when they had that 400-pound guy that turned 100 on there? And I was like, no, yeah, it's because it's never happened.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, right. Yeah, I missed that episode too because it doesn't exist. But if we're talking about quality of life is primarily what this is about. You want to be able to go upstairs. You know, we went over and watched the NCAA games a couple weeks ago. You know, we can walk up the stairs. We can fit in the seats. You know, there's a lot of benefits to working on your physicality, and I think that's the message. But yeah, I appreciate you, man. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any other unscripted tangents you want to go over before we hit the button?
No, man. I'm next on my list. The next time we're together on here, it's going to be back to business. I want to talk about some business and people bettering their lives through changing what they're doing, like kind of the grumbling that you talked on, but that leads into the next thing of, if you want to do something, you need to do something. You got to change it. You can't just grumble about it. So
I want to change. All right. Well, work on it. You talk about whatever you want.
All right, man.
All right. See you later, dude.